Current price on them is $999. Minimum order is 10.
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah, but you don't get a Bob Chapman special.
You don't?
Oh,
no.
We don't even make enough money to cover the subscription.
We don't even make enough money to send a mug.
Well, that's your call, but...
Well, no, you can email a picture of your mug if you'd like.
I mean, it's ridiculous, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And in a large reason, let me tell you also, speaking to people within the industry, we have seen a massive increase in premiums on numismatic coins, specifically MS coins, 63, 64, 65.
Mm-hmm.
They have gone up in some instances by 70%. And they attribute, obviously, the rise in numismatic prices just simply because people can't get any other coins.
All right, so $9.99.
Yeah, but Robbie, you said before that also there are groups that are coming into that market that manage money that have been very large buyers.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's just...
And, they're buying $1 million, $2 million, $3 million at a time, and they like numismatics, and that's a
sure.
big factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that preceded this.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was just reading...
Let me ask you this. Is there anything you can get?
I mean, every day it's a minefield out there.
Robbie, I was just reading earlier that the Canadian Maple Leafs, I think they're sold in 56 countries around the planet. And it was ironic that I was reading about Canadian Maple Leafs today, and then you tell us that the only thing available out there in the troy ounce rounds is Canadian Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
$9.99 a piece.
$9.99 a piece.
Okay. Well, and you know what? I mean, I look at that the spread on that. What was spot today?
$9.50.
It was $9.11.80.
Okay. $9.11.80.
Down $27, and the silver spot was $13.72. Down 34 cents.
My charts are
different. And the outside April markets were stronger.
You know, mine. I think Bob's. You quoting the most active month. The cash month was 9/15/50. 9/15/15. My mistake.
Well, you know what's interesting? I've got April at 350 better, 350 higher, and I've got silver 10 cents better as well. So toward the end, it started to turn upward.
Yeah, I got silver at $12.79.
All right. Not the best
deal. Wait a minute. This. Let me see. I've got $12.79.
Why you people?
Well, I've got April at $12.81. Off 24 cents.
While you people are figuring that discrepancy out, let's go to Greg in California. Thanks for holding on, Greg.
Hey, thanks for having me. Gentlemen, I always appreciate your show. And, Bob, I have to say that some of the things you've said have actually made me quite a bit of money, and I'm happy to have had the opportunity to have heard you all these many months. My question is, I have a 401k, and I should tell you that I'm about 40 years old, and I don't have any Social Security or any anticipation of Social Security, but I basically liquidated most of my stock positions and have gotten into a couple companies that hold physical gold, and I actually have sold took a loan against the 401k to buy physical gold. But I'm also still actively working, playing against the S&P with SDS. Now, I sold a position last week, and of course it's gone up another $15. And based on all the things you've been saying, kind of what my gut tells me is that we're at least headed to 500 on the S&P. And I'm sort of curious, like, what's your position or what's your feeling about continuing to play that counterplay?
I think it's good. You just got to watch out for rallies, and you got to trade those things. Yeah. And you got to be on top of it all day long. And when you see the trend, going against you, just pop out or use limits. But you got to be very, very careful. I used to trade them, and I'll never forget. I did 21 trades in a row, which were all big winners. And they had the Gulf War, and I was long, and I got buried. I couldn't find a bid. They just wouldn't even trade. And all of the money that I made in the first 21 trades was lost in one trade. So be careful.
Okay. Well, that's good advice, because I've been a little bit reluctant to jump back in because I did very well, and it's kind of like, that seems like you're pushing the bleeding edge of being greedy. But follow-on question for that is, I've heard you say many...
Greg, hang on to that question. We'll get back, and I got a question for you. And answer this, please, on the other side of the break. When did you start dumping your stocks? Hang on, Greg. 800-313-9443. We got a line open. Fill it up. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Greg, you were saying before the break?
Well, you had asked about the when I sold my positions, and I would say that, I started trimming my positions in the summertime because I knew that this was just too good to be true where we were within the markets. But, I relied, like a lot of people, I know the woman who called before with her annuity question, I don't want to be in that position, and so I'd been relying on the dividends from the stocks that I had owned to build my portfolio because, things have been a little leaner. It's been harder to make those contributions and everything else. But, of course, listening to you guys, it sort of gets you in the mindset of, okay, we need to look at what we're going to do here. And I started basically trimming my positions in the end of summer, and as soon as August came around and I saw the shenanigans with the bank, I dumped anything I had that didn't have to do with gold and started immediately betting against the market. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of how I approached it. But I suspected, based on everything that I heard from Bob, that it was definitely time to do that. I actually had a follow-on question, and that is that I guess I sort of feel a little bit trapped because if you cash the thing out and you pay the taxes and you go into gold, and you've got all your eggs in one basket. And I know that seems, on one hand, that's not a terrible thing because we know that it's at least a true asset. But being a bit pragmatic, and never knowing what these jokers might pull, you never know. They might do something that we haven't expected or anticipated, and next thing you know, you're sitting in gold, and you get a haircut there too. So, any suggestions on how you might hedge yourself without being entirely in physical metals?
Well, you could hedge by buying calls on stocks in the market, but anticipating perhaps a short-term rally, which is possible. I mean, we've broken down, but it doesn't mean that the Dow can't go back and test 72.86 and see if it stops it, which it probably would. But you got to stay on top of this stuff. And I was a trader for 25 years professionally, and you're right 52 or 3 or 4 or 5% of the time, and you're a super winner. And most people don't experience that. Pros do. But, they're on there all day long. And unless you devote your entire time to it, you could very well be playing with fire.
No, and I agree with you because I have been burned when I've, for example, had something that was a distraction for long enough that I wasn't able to get back and make a trade. But one final question, Bob. I noticed that you frequently mention recommendations that you have in the newsletter, and when I got a sample newsletter, I didn't see any of those sorts of things. Are those typically not in the samples, so when you actually get your subscription, you'll see those kinds of recommendations?
Precisely.
Okay.
Dr. Watson.
Thank you, sir.
By the way, Greg, what do you do?
But if you really want them, I will send them to you. All you do is email me.
No, I'm not averse to subscribing to your newsletter.
It'd be a good.
Well, hurry up. Oh, maybe with Robbie if he ever gets another deal.
Greg, what do you do for a living out there?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have 2 different businesses. One's a healthcare related product, and the other is in apparel. And I'm terrified because of what's going on, and if people don't have any money, they can't buy the products that we make.
Well, I mentioned this. I mentioned this a while ago. And I told this to people, look, you know, you're talking about taking haircuts. Well, the stock market overall has taken a haircut, and people are always wondering, you know, what do I buy and when do I buy it? And I told people before, I said, look, start thinking from the vantage point of when people have less money and they want to make it stretch further. You take a look at retail outlets. I didn't hear any stories here of Big Lots going bankrupt. Have you? Car parts store, where actually new car sales are down. Well, guess what? Used car prices hedged up a little bit. But what was a safe bet for a stock was auto parts chains, because more people are hanging on to what they have, using their own ingenuity and doing their own repairs when possible.